We're gonna do this today with our spent Rockwool and recycle. Hey friends, Stephanie here with the Aeroponic Tower channel. Today I'm gonna show you how to recycle Rockwool when your seeds don't germinate and just talk about maybe why they didn't germinate. This is something that happens a lot to new gardeners, and it happens to experienced gardeners as well. I had a recent flop in germination, and it's frustrating when you're just getting started and only half your seeds pop up, and it can become overwhelming. And I've seen people kind of get stuck in a cycle where then they feel like they just can never make it happen and they give up. Don't give up. It's a skill to start seeds, and it's a skill we have to learn if we want to grow our own food. It is just part of the game. Now, once you get it and it's not so, the weight of it, of some not germinating is not so heavy on you, then it's like, oh, okay, 10 germinated out of 12, no big deal, you move on and you know what to do with those. But in the beginning, so just know, like if you're having poor germination, we can go through some things and troubleshoot why that's happening. And part of it is you just have to keep going. I had a customer who was getting started and was just really struggling in this area. And so we just kept talking through it. And then just like that, it happened. We got all the right things in order. We problem solved what was going on, which I have a private community for my customers to do that in. I have a membership and a place so we can communicate if you're struggling. It's actually launching in a couple of days. I've been working hard on it to have all this content there for you. And I also have a private Facebook group that's open to anybody. I will put a link to that in the description below this video if you are having problems as well. I'm not as quick and I don't have as much availability to handhold in the main group. In the membership, you get my full commitment to helping you with whatever you're struggling with. But with this customer, once we got over the hump of what was going on, then the success was there. They bought 3 more towers. Now they're just like pumping out a ton of food on 6 towers, which is amazing. So I want to show you today, like if you have failed germination, we don't just want to throw our Rockwool away. We want to recycle it. And I want to show you what you can do and where you can kind of push the limits with this, and then address again what the main things may be with poor germination. So to start, too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. You may have bad seeds. I used to say there was 5 and I stopped there, but then I've realized in hydroponics or aeroponics, what we're doing, there's a few more. Chlorinated water, like if you're using poor quality water, you don't want to use distilled water. You don't want to use chlorinated water. We need purified water. So clean water for your seeds. Quality Rockwool, I've seen some failures with quality Rockwool. And then one that I've recently discovered too is some people are buying the wrong lights, and their lights are super powerful and it's actually heating up the seedlings in the Rockwool too much. So they're getting which brings us back to too hot, right? Sometimes people's houses are, temperatures change when you have moisture in the air and no moisture. We're all in different regions. I'm growing in a garage that doesn't hold temperature very well. So sometimes like I can grow amazing squash in here and sometimes I can't, and nothing's changed. I'm running the AC or the heater on the same temperature, but because this isn't a regulated, it's not sealed, completely airtight, and there's other airflows. So there's different humidity rates and there's different things going on, and the temperatures are fluctuating in here. And sometimes it's just not ideal conditions to grow something like a cucumber or a squash, which is the more finicky plant. So if you're having some of those failures, sometimes that's just what it is. Your environment is not suited to certain things, and you may just have to scrap that and find something else you love to eat and grow that, because we don't want to be fighting something that's not going to thrive when we can easily grow something else that'll thrive amazing in that environment and give you food, which is the goal, to get a lot of food. All that to say, I have found that sometimes, even though we're using heat mats, if you're using the Germinator, which is a kit by Tower Garden, and I'll put that below, which comes with a light. I know the light is gentle. It can stay on 24 hours. I don't have to worry about it. It's the right distance. But sometimes the heat mat, even though it's regulated temperature, because of some people's environments, will make their Rockwool too hot and they'll start to have problems. So what you can do is, if you suspect that's it, you shouldn't touch your Rockwool. It should not feel, when you touch your Rockwool, it should not feel hot. should feel warm to the touch. So you can check if you're having some struggles, you can check the temperature of your Rockwool using a meat thermometer and just see what it's at. We want to be at like 70 degrees-ish. Now, if it's 75, 65, those are nice windows. But if you're going into the 80s, we're too high, right? We don't want to go over 75 for most things. That may be a situation where you want to put your heat mat on a timer. You can buy timers. I have them for some of mine on Amazon, and you can just set up a timer so that it kicks off every once in a while, or you can just remove them from the heat mat. So those are the things that can go wrong with seed starting and seed germination. There's also the issue that sometimes we get busy and we miss things, and we don't think we should have missed things, but we did. And that's actually what happened to me. I was busy, wasn't paying attention. I started like 20 trays at one time and then was just like, see you later. And wasn't checking on, but wasn't being diligent to check on them. And I had some tomatoes, for example, sprouted, and I left the dome lid on after they sprouted because I didn't even catch they sprouted, and they got wet and molded back down, and I didn't even notice. I thought, oh, they didn't germinate. And then the closer I looked, I realized there were little tomato plants like wilted back down, just rotten in the tray. So my fault, I got busy. I didn't realize they were gonna come up in 2 days. And I waited about 5 before I checked on them, and that was too long. We need to take that dome off, especially the brassicas and lettuce and any kind of like arugula. Those things are pretty, Swiss chard, beets, those things can handle the dome lid being on a little bit longer. But tomatoes, peppers can tolerate it a little bit longer than tomatoes. Tomatoes, squash, green beans, those things do not like to be wet, like in a greenhouse, very long. So those you need to take the dome off pretty quickly. So what do we do next is if we had poor germination. So look at all of these. I have 4 trays of 12 that didn't germinate. That's a lot for me. I don't typically have that much. Now I started many seeds, and I always say like germination success rate with Rockwool is about 80%. There is failure when you're using Rockwool. It's just a little bit trickier. I am working on a new method, and I'll share with you guys if it works, where I am putting some cocoa coir. I don't like to use just cocoa coir. It's very expensive and not worth the cost to me, but with as much as I grow, it's just way too expensive. But what I've been doing is adding a little bit of cocoa coir to the bottom of my Rockwool. Tower Garden Rockwool has these nice big holes. And so I've been adding some cocoa coir in there, putting my seed, topping it with a little cocoa coir so that the seed's getting more of a soil experience, which I think sometimes that's the problem with Rockwool, is that it is not a supernatural thing. It's very rock woven, and I don't know, it's just not soil. And that worked. Recently I germinated all my tomatoes that way. I germinated my baby cauliflower that way, and I have 4 trays, and so far everything has come up. So I'm gonna keep playing with that. I mean, so far I don't see any harm in doing it. Does it actually increase germination success rate? That's gonna take me a while to test, to really see. I'm gonna do some side-by-side comparisons, so look for that video, because I think that's a trick that can really offer us a cool benefit to increase and get a little bit higher than 80%. So what do we do with the 20% Rockwool that doesn't germinate, right? We don't wanna waste these. So what I'm going to do is heavily seed them for my baby greens. Now my baby greens are not babies. Right here, for example, these are baby greens that I seeded, okay, using this method. These are so fabulous. I can't even get over how fabulous these are. And this was using Tower Garden's gourmet blend. And I'm gonna do that again today and show you guys. I'm also gonna show you how to use some sprouting seeds to keep your costs down when you're doing this. But when I say baby greens, sometimes you'll see me harvest little heads because I need food to eat, and we want to eat off our towers. And so harvest them young. If you have nothing this big, harvest them young. But you can also let them turn into these giant bundles that you just cut, and this fills your fridge. This is like one of those plastic tubs. I usually say 2 bundles is a plastic tub, but this one right here is so large. I let it get so large that it is a plastic tub worth of baby greens. This would cost me $5 at the grocery store. So absolutely incredible. We're gonna do this today with our spent Rockwool and recycle. Okay, so how do we do it? First off, if you have Tower Garden seeds, you can do it with those. I like to buy sprouting seeds because it saves a ton of money when we're gonna use many, many seeds like this. So these are sprouting seeds. I'll put the link below. I have a seed starting guide also in the link below that you can download, and it'll stay on there where I buy sprouting seeds. And I buy different varieties based on the textures we like to eat. This is a crisp head lettuce, which is in the iceberg family, so it's a crispier lettuce. So let's start some of those. And we're gonna start the baby greens mix here, which is leaf lettuce, butterhead lettuce, romaine, another leaf lettuce, another romaine, and another leaf. And I'm gonna add some red to both of these. I like red lettuce. That gives a nice texture. And Lola Rosa is a red leaf lettuce. So let's do those. And I also want to use up some old seeds. I have lots of seeds that need to be used up. And so if that's the case, let's use them. Let's do a gourmet blend. Let's do a Crispino. Okay, I'm just gonna do those two. And that just helps to get rid of it. You can see, I don't want these seeds to go bad. So this is also a trick to use up seeds. You can do it with brassicas. If you have a bunch of broccoli seeds, you can do this with those and just grow baby green broccoli and grow baby greens broccoli leaves and use those in a salad. They taste amazing. So these are our recycling, using up what we have hacks. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a measuring spoon. And before I show you how to do this, I just want to point out that you don't want to use this recycled Rockwool for things that are more difficult to start. Things like tomatoes and peppers and eggplant and brassicas. If you're doing one seed per Rockwool, you really want to use a nice new Rockwool. But for heavily seeding like this, or if you want to do this for your squash and things that germinate really easily, then this method works great. Okay, so we're gonna take a 1/4 teaspoon and we're gonna fill it to the top, unless you're just doing one Rockwool. We want about 1/4 to 1/3 of 1/4 teaspoon per Rockwool. So it's a lot of seeds. And it also depends on the size of the seeds. These are a little bit larger. So when I just filled this to the top. And when I went to fill 3 Rockwool, it was a little much. So I went ahead and filled 4. And I'm gonna bring you guys in closer so you can watch this. All right, so here's my teaspoon. We're just gonna go in. Now you'll notice there was some vermiculite in this one. I also forgot to tell you, I prepped these by taking them outside and soaking them in water for a while and trying to hose out gently, because we don't want to compact them, the vermiculite inside. But there's still some. I can even see some seeds in this one over here, and that's okay. We're doing a planting method that is pretty fail-proof for this, so there's some give there. These are gonna start for sure. I also want some Lola Rosa in those, which is the red lettuce. So I'm just gonna add a pinch to each one to give me a little red lettuce for each of those. And you can see it's over the top. It doesn't matter if we spill some. And then let's start with our last 4. Let's just start some Lola Rosa by itself. So we've got 1, 2, 3. These are a little bit smaller seeds than those. So I was able to do 3 per Rockwool. And we're done. For these, let's do this gourmet blend. Now, here's the thing when you use seed packets. Because we're using so many seeds, it doesn't go far, and that's why we want to be using sprouting seeds, because look, one package gave me barely 1/4. Now I'm glad to have these, so I'm gonna do 2 Rockwool with those, but that's all I'm gonna get out of a seed package. big, big difference. So buying sprouting seeds will save you a ton. I do this all the time. I'm always starting these every 2 weeks. We eat this more than anything else on the tower. Yes, I love a head of lettuce, like a head of butter lettuce. I think it's really fun to grow a full head of lettuce, but this feeds us and it feeds us fast. Let's do this iceberg and see how many. I might have used some of these. I think this was a little light. I don't really remember how many they come with, but this, we're gonna get over a 1/4. So let's do these. This is the iceberg. And I was able to get almost 4. Okay, so we were able to get a little over a 1/4 of a teaspoon, a 1/4 and a 1/4 of a teaspoon. So we've got 4 there. Now we have 6 more to do here. Let's do this baby greens mix. This is a nice blend, similar to Tower Gardens. It doesn't have any red in it though, which I'm kind of shocked by that. Unless some of the leaf lettuce is red. I don't remember actually. I haven't grown this in a while. Okay, so we're just gonna do the same thing. I made a mess with those. So I'm doing a 1/3 of these. We'll do some more over here. Now these Rockwool look really bad. I'm gonna do something different with this one, and I'll explain why in a moment. All right, let's do 1, 2, 3. And then to finish it off, we'll do our crisp head, which is our iceberg. So we're gonna have lots of iceberg because I did some of those over there. 1, 2, 3. Okay, looks messy, but we are good. We've got everything we need for our lettuce. What we're gonna do is top it with vermiculite. Because there's seeds along the top, I'm gonna cover part of the top as well, just to protect those. And that's it. Do this one. We'll put the domes on these. They'll go in the heat mat. When they sprout, we'll take the dome lid off and we'll let them continue to grow there until they have roots on all 4 sides and are a decent size. Or when I get to a point where I need lettuce to go into the tower, that's when we'll put those in. So for this other one, because these look so rough, it doesn't matter. It's fine. Algae is not a problem. It's a side effect of hydroponics. It just is a part of hydroponics. It doesn't cause any harm. It's nothing we need to worry about. But I want to make sure I'm sprouting something that's super durable. Okay, so for this, you can do lettuce. Arugula is just a little bit more durable. If you don't like arugula, try growing it for a little bit. My opinion, try growing it for a little bit and see if you can fall in love with it, because that's what I did and it's one of my favorite foods now. But if you want to try this with lettuce, you can too. Arugula just is a little bit more durable. So I'm going to take a 1/4 teaspoon and I'm going to do half per Rockwool. You can see these, the seeds are bigger, so you can get away with doing a little bit more per Rockwool. So we're going to use 1/2 a 1/4 teaspoon per Rockwool here. We're gonna cover this in vermiculite. And that's it. I'm gonna put the domes on these, put them on my heat mat underneath my grow lights, and wait until they germinate. Again, take off the domes as soon as you get that germination. Leave them there until they have roots on all 4 sides, or until you're ready to put them into the tower, or until you have space in your tower. And we have recycled our Rockwool, so we're saving money there and we're growing just so much food by doing it this way. We get food fast and we get a lot of it by seeding our things this way. I highly recommend, even if you're not recycling Rockwool, to start some of these this way so that you can get food on the table fast and just get in the habit of doing this every 2 weeks, and you will have an abundance of greens to harvest anytime you need them. Thanks for watching. See you soon.